Have you ever hated someone so much that you wanted revenge? Now imagine being locked in a small, cold prison cell for 27 years by people who feared your voice. Imagine losing your youth, your family, your freedom. And then, imagine walking out of that prison with a smile and telling the world, "I forgive them." This is not fiction. This is the true story of Nelson Mandela, the man who showed the world what real leadership looks like. He was born in 1918 in a small South African village. His real name was Rolihlahla, which meant pulling the branch of a tree, or, as many would later say, troublemaker. But young Mandela wasn't looking for trouble. He just wanted to learn, grow, and live freely. He became the first in his family to go to school. That's where he was given the name Nelson by a teacher, part of the British schooling system in colonial South Africa. As he grew older, Mandela saw something deeply wrong in his country, a cruel system called apartheid, where white South Africans had all the power, and black people were treated as if they were invisible in their own land. Mandela decided to fight it, not with weapons, but with words, marches, protests, and an unstoppable spirit. He joined the African National Congress and soon became one of its most powerful voices. But his voice was dangerous to the ruling government because it awakened people. In 1962, he was arrested. He was charged with conspiracy, sabotage, and so-called terrorism, all for demanding equality. In a courtroom, before being sentenced, Mandela stood up and said something that shook the world. He said, "I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society. It is an ideal for which I am prepared to die." And with that, they sent him to prison for life. He spent 18 years on Robben Island, a remote, isolated prison surrounded by cold seawater. His cell? Just 7 feet wide. His bed? A thin mat on a hard floor. His daily routine? Crushing rocks under the hot sun. But here's what makes Mandela different. He didn't break. He didn't become bitter. Instead, he educated himself, read philosophy, studied law, and even taught fellow prisoners. Over time, even the prison guards began to respect him, because while his body was in chains, his soul remained free. The world outside didn't forget him either. People began chanting, protesting, and demanding, "Free Nelson Mandela." And finally, in 1990, after 27 long years, at the age of 71, Nelson Mandela walked out of prison. The world expected revenge, but Mandela gave it peace. Instead of hate, he chose healing. Instead of bloodshed, he chose dialogue. He sat down with the same people who jailed him and forgave them. 4 years later, in 1994, history was made. Nelson Mandela became the first black president of South Africa, elected by all races together. And guess what he did? He invited his former enemies into his government. He focused not on punishing the past, but building the future. Mandela served just 1 term and then stepped down. Because for him, leadership wasn't power, it was service. In his lifetime, he won over 250 awards, including the Nobel Peace Prize. But more than that, he won millions of hearts by showing the world that forgiveness is more powerful than revenge. Before his death in 2013, he said something unforgettable. "Resentment is like drinking poison and hoping it will kill your enemies." Today, Nelson Mandela is not just a name in history. He is a symbol of hope, justice, and the belief that even after years of darkness, a man can come out carrying the light. So if you're ever hurt or feel the weight of injustice, remember this: forgiveness isn't weakness, it's the courage to build again. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Drop a comment below. What would you do if you were in Mandela's place? We bring you real stories of extraordinary people. See you in the next video.